Y is recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Right, I need to be recording this again. I stopped recording it.
No, it's fine.
So no, you and what was your friend's name?
Francesca.
Okay, and so this photo that your mom posted, it's you and your friend.
Yes, I'm in my Les Mis sweatshirt with my Euro mullet, and
Okay.
we made a bundt cake. We were in
Mm-hmm.
England, and we made a bundt cake, which I don't think they really do bundt cakes there, but it was the Battle of Gettysburg.
Because that always makes me hungry.
Right. And then we wrote a note and dedicated it to George Hazard and Ori Main, who we loved forever because we were obsessed with North and South Book 2, the miniseries. Also the first one, but Book 2 especially.
Patrick Swayze?
Everybody was in that. We could do an entire podcast on the people who were in that miniseries. But yes, Patrick Swayze was Ori Main. And then Rachel, now German Rachel,
Right.
commented on my mother's Facebook post about it that I also got her way into North and South when I moved back to America. So I was all about it.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand the full meaning of the Civil War and all of those elements. I just understood that Patrick Swayze was awfully cute in uniform.
Right. Here's my question, or here's my issue.
Yes.
No matter what you do or do not know about the Civil War,
yes.
because obviously you're being educated, different system. How did that affect your view on the American Revolution? Another question, another time.
Yeah, they didn't make a good miniseries.
Right.
But you give me a good Revolutionary War, friends from both sides.
Right. I was going to say, I don't know if Gettysburg makes a great cake, but then what do you put on a Gettysburg themed cake?
So I had this collection.
Dead bodies, blood everywhere.
There was like frosting blood, but I had these little like ducks and frogs that I got at this little store in our village called Jeffrey Mond, and they were just these little figurines. They were tiny, and they were all of our various soldiers, troops.
How many ducks and frogs were at Gettysburg from your research?
I don't know, but you know what? And as I'm talking to you, and you asked that question, I realize there probably were ducks and frogs at Gettysburg, and their habitat and environment was probably severely disrupted by this battle. So perhaps I was actually doing an homage to the poor frogs and dogs that were disrupted.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a nice attempt to sort of retrofit themed baked goods into.
I got nothing.
No.
I don't know.
Did you guys do an Appomattox?
No, but we should have.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been more likely I feel like that's not really cupcakes, though. That might be a strudel.
This is Why, with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling.
Next on Knocked Up Castaways, Bree finds the last coconut on St. Marcos.
I used to doubt myself, worried about whether I was good enough, if the things I felt were wrong or even crazy. That's why I talked to my doctor about Femtrexel.
If you are a woman 14 to 70 and feel overwhelmed by your feelings, Femtrexel can help.
A man from the school came by, brought you your medicine.
I'm not gonna take it.
These are the innocent good times we'll remember for the rest of our lives.
Is this some kind of YouTube thing?
Oh, right, no.
The universe appears to me like an immense, inexorable torture garden. Do you agree or disagree, and why?
Why are you avoiding this intimate mother-daughter bonding time? Why?
Isn't it funny when you see two ugly people totally in love?
Oh my God.
I think we're venturing into campy and scene territory.
No.
Yeah.
How'd you get the gig?
So it's all about networking, right? Because my a friend of mine from college had seen the posting on backstage.com, and I didn't even have a backstage at that point because I'm a terrible actor. Um, and and so she sent the posting to me, and I created an account and I submitted to Keith, and I think I actually sat in his inbox for like a year. Um, because I got no reply, and then, like, about a year later, I guess he had started looking again, and he saw me in his backstage inbox or whatever, um, and he sent me the script and asked if I was still interested, and I was very interested, so then he had me do a tape of a couple of scenes, and then started bringing me in for callbacks in New York and stuff, and that was really, really fun.
Well, and I mean, you are so good in it, and I know you've done a lot of stage work, but it's a different art form, acting for film's so different.
For sure. It's a whole different beast.
How was that? How was that first time on set making that transition to this other beast?
Yeah, it was there was for sure a learning curve. And I have to give a lot of credit to Keith and the producers for like taking a chance on someone who was so green to, head up their film. It's different if they're like, cast someone for a bit part or like a day player and they're not a film actor. But for someone who's just absolutely so green to like lead the movie is that was a big swing on their part, and thankfully it paid off. But yeah, there was a lot of differences. So first of all, like the main one is like the difference in like nuance and the um just the size of the acting, because like if you're in theater, you're playing to the back of the house, as we say. You got to make sure that everybody can see you and hear you and follow the story. Whereas with film, it's like so subtle. It's like right up close in your face. You can just think thoughts and they'll appear on your face. And um, so there's a lot of like just learning how that tones down, particularly when there's a camera that's like right next to you, like an inch from your face. Like I felt like Elizabeth Moss on Handmaid's Tale a couple of times. Where I was like, this camera is so close. Um, but then there's also the just like the chronology of the whole like production is like so vastly different because you will film scenes from entirely different timelines in the movie, um just like on the same day. And whereas with theater, like you might work scenes that are from different parts of the play, but like generally, like once you get into the rhythm of it, then you're performing the whole story throughout the play every night, and you get that whole experience every night. Um, Whereas with film, it's like you just do the scene, and then if they got what they needed, then you never touch that again. And so you really have to do a lot of your actor homework beforehand. In theater, there's a thing called table work, which is like the first week of rehearsals. Typically, everyone is sitting down, you pick through the script, and you really dissect everything that goes on, like as a whole team. And for this, I kind of did a lot of that table work myself, before even getting to set. The couple of weeks before we started shooting, I had the script or the iteration of the script that was available at that time, and and I have this notebook that I filled out like each scene. I broke down into beats. I picked through everything that any character says about me. I picked through everything that I say about myself. And just like building this like Bible for myself that I would then retrace like the night before we would shoot scenes. We'd get a list of scenes, and would I'd look through all my notes from that scene, and then I'd go and build a whole new page of new notes the night before. So yeah, there's a lot of homework involved for me, at least, that maybe at some point if I do more film, it'll get easier, but you have to really know your character inside and out from day one.
One of the things that I think the film does such a good job, and it's that relationship between you and your co-star in Chloe. Did you guys do a lot of work before starting the film just to get to know each other better, or was it sort of day one, "Hey, how are you? Let's go."
Actually, yeah, actually, Chloe was finishing filming another project when we started filming this. So the first 4 days was just stuff with me and some stuff with Baba, who plays my love interest, and stuff with my father. And so Chloe came in on day 5, and we had the scene in the bathroom where she tells me that she slept with Stevie D,
Yeah.
um, and that was our first scene together. We had met at auditions, and we were kind of, like, messaging back and forth over Instagram a little bit beforehand, but really, like, that was the first scene. We just kind of had to, like, get it going. We didn't have any time to connect, and I think it's, like, really interesting because Chloe and I are still, like, really good friends to this day. We have we have Zoom calls a lot, and we just chit chat, and it's really excellent. I miss her so much. But I think it's really fortunate that we just clicked immediately, because it works so well, and I think it comes out on the screen.
It does. I feel like that's such a risk because that relationship is so pivotal through the I mean, that the whole film is that relationship, and if you guys hadn't clicked, no matter how good of actors you were, I don't know that it would have translated as well. You could just feel that energy.
Yeah, for sure. It's so lucky. I mean, I had we had a couple of, like, chemistry reads with, a couple of actresses, and Chloe was the one that, like, um, I really felt a connection with, and, like, she's just so weird and, like, this, like, weird, like, in a way that, like, really connects with me and my weirdness, and we just have, like, the same sense of humor, and we liked the same things, um and it was kind of helpful the first day that we were, filming together, or I think it was the second day we were filming, doing a lot of stuff in the school, and they had us in, like, our holding area was in a classroom, and they put both of us together, which was really nice. So, while they're setting up all their shots and we're waiting, we're just sitting there shooting the shit, and, like, I started pretending to be a teacher and, like, writing on the chalkboard and lecturing about a very, like, bizarro, like, science that I was coming up on the spot, and she's just playing along. It was excellent to have those moments, in between to really just, like, get to know each other, but yeah.
And speaking of weird, the film, literally from, like, frame 1
Is
has
weird.
so
Yes.
yeah, in the best way possible.
Right.
If you ever are like, because at first, I'm gonna be honest, I hear, relationship story with 2 teenage girls and their lives. Doesn't necessarily I'm not your key demo, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And then from the opening credits onward, which is just the 2 of you with your heads in microwaves, like, it sort of is a very subtle tip-off that this is not the
This
type
is
of
not
film
your
you think it's gonna
average
be.
yeah, this is
No.
not your average, this is not Lady Bird, this is not
Yeah.
Booksmart.
Nope.
And
Thank
just the
God.
number of little throwaways or gags hidden in the frame almost. Was the script like that when you read it, or was that something that Keith kind of put in throughout? Did you know going in this was gonna be either work or not? Like, it's a big swing in the best
Yeah,
way
I mean, I
possible.
definitely when I first read the script, I was like, "This is weird. This is a weirdo script," and I love it. Um, but also, it was a little bit of hesitation, but, like, again, I was like, "I'm new to this film medium, so I'm just gonna trust wholeheartedly that Keith and everyone on the production team knows what they're doing and has a vision for it." What was really lucky was that Keith, knowing that I was so green to film, actually had me brought up to, like, production, like, about a week before we started shooting so that I could really get to know everybody and see what was going on. So in the production offices, they're like, putting together the all the props that they're collecting, we're trying on costumes and everything, and so I got to, like, really know, like, the lead props person, the lead makeup person, the lead costume person, and see what their vision was for everything. But I think, like, rewinding back to the initial reading of the script and the audition process, like, that microwave bit is in the script, like, that wasn't an afterthought. That is, like, literally on the second page. You're like, "Okay, nope, I see this."
Okay.
Like, the history teacher, and his, like,
God,
obsession with Ronald Reagan, like,
hilarious.
that's all in the script, and, like, you just kind of you get the feel from the bizarro land that they're telling. I think it's a lot of, magical realism and surrealism, and there's this lovely bit in the script that unfortunately didn't we had to cut on the day of shooting because the thing turned out to not be there, but so in the rainforest hallucination scenes, um, there we've shot that on location in the absolutely gorgeous, whole rainforest in Olympic National Park in Washington. Um, and we shot that all in one day. We had like we flew out there, we shot it, and we flew back, and like that was it. And it was just absolutely stunning, so gorgeous. But so Keith had lived in that area for a while and had this memory of there's this phone booth that's just in the middle of the rainforest and like just there and like defunct but like sitting there, and so he wrote a scene where Janet like uses that phone booth to call Kat, and it was a really lovely scene, but unfortunately once we got there we learned that that phone booth had been taken out. So
Mhm.
but like having that central image in those like hallucination scenes in that initial read of the script that I was given, I was like, yeah, no, I think I understand where this is going.
So everything about it, it's so unique, and like Luke said, it's so hard to pull that off with a girl film these days, like to, friend coming of age.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be because girls aren't any different from
Right.
boys. Like, I mean,
Well, it's
there's
hard to pull off uniquely for guy coming of age. In fairness, coming of age
sure.
films are hard to pull off these days. How about that?
For sure, for sure.
But you're
Yeah,
right.
it's yeah, but I mean, like, we see a lot of, like, more weirdness in guy coming of age films, and I think you're allowed to take
True.
more swings with those things. Women and girls and their stories are not as accepted or thought of as accessible, which is, just a symptom of our deeply patriarchal society that we live in. Um, but I think that most people who I've talked to who've enjoyed the film, because like for some people it's a little too weird. I understand that. Sometimes, it's not everyone's taste. That's
Right.
fine. But most people who it clicked with, like, it doesn't matter their age or their gender or their race.
Right.
Um, it just it it's still something in it resonated with them, and that's, I think, really beautiful.
Great.
As a first-time actor, when you're on set doing something that is this trippy and bizarre and wonderfully surreal at times, is there any point in the process where you just look around and go, "Man, I hope this plays right. I hope this," or was the vibe on set with Keith and the rest of the crew where you're just like, "Oh, no, we've got something special here"?
I think I
Because if
mean,
someone had
I
said
was
to me, "Put your head in a microwave and we're gonna film it," I might have a moment of like, "I see how this is gonna be cool, but"
Yeah, okay, so I think the main fears that I had with that were more focused about, like, I don't know if, like, what I'm doing is playing on camera because the other difference with film and theater is that, like, with theater, you have an immediate audience reaction that you can play off of, whereas film, like, everybody has to be dead silent, and so, like, if I do something funny and I don't hear anyone laugh, I'm like, okay, maybe that just wasn't funny, but actually it was, and they're just not allowed to laugh. Um, I think one of the great things about the team that they assembled was that I felt I was talking to one of the more experienced actors on set, and he mentioned how excellent it was that, the crew was really balanced in gender, and there was a lot of diversity on the crew as well, like, racially, and, our our camera team was entirely women, um, and a lot of people were young, and it just it felt like we all kind of knew what we were like, we all just kind of gelled and vibed, and it was I think that, alleviated a lot of the fears of, I'm just gonna trust them. I'm gonna trust that they know what they're doing. Our director of photography, Madeline Kate Can, she was only, 2 years older than me, so at the time we were shooting, which was 2 years ago, she was yeah, so she was 26, which is very young for director of photography,
Yeah.
but she, absolutely knew what she wanted. She had very specific visions. She, built, filters for the camera, handmade her own filters, to
Oh,
do some really cool and trippy effects, and she just, she was yeah, she was really specific, and I just that sort of specificity from both her and from Keith, who was also very specific about his vision, um, that lends me a lot of, strength and structure, and I feel like I can rely on that. So, yeah.
After this experience that was so positive, are you feeling like you'd like to do more film, or is theater really where your heart is, or do you wanna do both?
Yeah, I would love to explore more film. I do love theater. At the moment, it's hard.
I know.
Um, anyone who's listening to this in the future, congratulations, you survived the coronavirus.
yeah.
Woohoo.
But right now, everything is shut down, and I think theater is gonna be one of the very last things to open up again because it's both because it's structured around a large amount of people sharing an experience together in a usually a tight space, and also because it's based on people having disposable income,
Right.
which is another difficulty right now. I think, I do love theater. I love it so much, and I miss it so much. But I would definitely love to expand more into film. I've had a couple of auditions for things here and there. Nothing's really picked up, but I'm definitely trying to get more into that. Part of the difficulty I've had for the past couple of years is I don't have any representation, and it's much harder in film if you don't have representation to get going. Whereas where I am, I do my home base is Philly, and our theater scene is really excellent. You don't need an agent. You don't need anything like that. You can just do it all yourself. Um, so navigating getting representation and then navigating those spaces and what that looks like, getting on casting directors radars, that's all a whole new world to me. It's very scary, but I'm very game for it. So we're trying some new things.
Love it.
Excellent. Was there a favorite sequence in the film to shoot that when you look back at it now, you're like, man, that was the best day on set?
I don't know about the best day on set, but the most interesting day on set. We had kind of a snow day where there was a random snowstorm, and a bunch of the stuff that we had planned to shoot for a day had to get canceled and moved. So they found this big old warehouse, and we shot two things that day, and it was the microwave sequence. Um, and then it was the, part of another one of Janet's hallucinations where, um, purple water, rises up and covers her face, and,
Mm.
um, the purple water was so funny. It was, this giant tub of purple Kool-Aid, and they essentially just lowered me into it. We did 2 takes of it because we had, limited number of costumes, and in between to reset, I had to go take a shower and then, uh, get my I have a lot of hair, so drying that was, like, a whole 'nother time, and then we had to reapply any makeup that was on me, and then, they had to reset the board that I was lying on with the sheets and the teddy bear and the and so we did it twice. And but just, like, the amount of, like, bizarro worlds that went into that just to get this one really quick shot was so fun, and of course, also getting lowered into purple Kool-Aid, like, horizontally, like, it just went right up my nose. Everything smelled terrible for the next day. It was great.
Antarctica, which Kimie stars in, is now available on Amazon Prime. With all of the talk of the best movies of last year, both Heidi and I really like this one, and we recommend that you check it out.
You can follow us on all the various socials. Our website is whythepodcast.com and has all sorts of additional stories and videos. It's also where you can sign up for our newsletter. We're also on YouTube if you're into that kind of thing. And don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes, because if you don't, we'll call your mother and tell her that she's completely right. You would look so much prettier if you smiled more.
Why the Podcast is part of Mudhouse Media. Today's show was produced by myself and Heidi Hegquist. Our reluctant executive producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing executive producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our graphic designer is Samantha Mustonen. The theme song was performed by the Electrosynth-O-Magnetic Polyphonic Orchestra. This one's for Philippe. Thanks for joining us. Flash, we're coming home.
Nigel, is that you? Are you here, Nigel?